Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that won the July 1945 parliamentary elections and ousted Winston Churchill and the Conservative Party from power. My name is Cody. Say, do you like to explore dungeons, but the same old has got you down, and you can never remember to bring the monarch along? Have I got the game for you? Super Dungeon Explorer, Forgotten King, from Soda Pop Miniatures.
Did you know that the deepest in the ocean you can go is approximately 2,500 feet before your head explodes? Did you know that even if you swim a couple feet, there are sharks and piranhas and electric eels that would love for you to eat? Come now, children, come and play and listen to the words I say. I do not mean to raise alarm, I just don't want you to come to harm. Did you know that some people think that Hitler isn't dead, and he's probably in your neighborhood waiting to crush your head? Did you know thieves and killers, they are all about waiting for you to drop your guard so they can take you out.
Super Dungeon Explorer, Forgotten King, from Soda Pop Miniatures, is a dungeon crawl adventure, a grand dungeon crawl adventure. Now, it plays up to 6 people. Now, you can play in 2 different modes. You can play in a classic mode, which is kind of the all against one, the heroes versus the dungeon master, the console in this game. Or you can play in arcade mode, which is more like a standard co-op game. Now, the classic game begins with each player selecting a hero. Now, these heroes, of course, they have various backgrounds and special abilities. They all have their own sets of stats. How many dice they're going to roll in melee attack, how many they're going to defend with, any special abilities that they may have, their health points, etc., etc., etc. Now, the console is going to have a number of spawn points, depending on the number of players that are there, and he's going to select all of the monsters that can spawn out of those spawn points. Players then take turns setting up the dungeon. The game comes with several 2-sided tiles that make up the game board in the play area. You place these around the play area. The console then places 1 spawn point and 1 treasure chest on each of the tiles. The heroes then select their starting position. It has to be near a door, and they all have to begin near their starting point. The goal for the heroes is to destroy all the spawn points, and the game will become increasingly more difficult for that to happen, but at the same time, they will be getting more and more powerful as they get more and more weapons and items to help them on their way. Now, each turn, a game round will consist of a hero going. Now, hero can activate, and the heroes can decide who's going to go in any order they choose. Now, the hero has a number of movement points and a number of action points. The action points are spent for things like attack or maybe some of the support actions. The offensive actions are in red, and they can consist of a basic melee attack or maybe some ranged attack or other special attack. And then they also have some support actions, actions that can maybe help them or other players that will also cost action points. So after a player has activated, they move, they've taken all their actions, they have the power-up phase. Essentially, if they've killed a bad guy or perhaps some other effect comes into play, they can draw a loot card. And loot cards are cool because they add items to your character. And the way your character card works, there's a different color gem on each of the 4 sides of the card, and you can place different colors on the different sides. We can only have 1 color at a time in any side. So if ever you've got, say you've got a green and you want to switch it out for another green, you can actually place that green in something called the backpack. And the backpack is kind of shared by all the players. They can trade things out from the backpack throughout the game and select things that they want. After the power-up is resolved, it becomes the console's turn. Now, the console can do 2 things on his turn. He can either activate his monsters and move with them, or he can spawn monsters. Now, some of the monsters will actually start near the spawn point, but if he chooses to spawn, he can go ahead and place, all the monsters from his card there. He has to take a hit point on that spawning card, which is, of course, going to hurt him because he wants to keep them. The longer he holds on to those things, the better his chances for winning. If he decides to activate his monsters, he can activate a total of 4 skull points during his turn. And each monster has a number of skull points. And of course, your larger monsters have a higher skull point value. Lower monsters, your smaller monsters, have a lower skull point value. So the console can activate his monsters. They move and attack kind of the same way that the heroes do. And once his phase is done, then you go ahead and collect any rewards and resolve your own power-up phase. For instance, if a mini-boss is destroyed, all of your various monsters get some kind of an advantage.
Who am I attacking, you?
Yeah. Oh, that's
Holy
ugly.
crap.
That's ugly.
What'd you get? What'd you get?
2, 4, 6, 8.
You can do
Oh!
You can do this.
Technically,
It can be done.
Well, 2 damage.
Now, combat in this game is very interesting. Essentially, you have 3 different kinds of dice. You have blue, green, and red. Now, red is your most powerful, but the blue and the green are going to have certain advantages, too, when you roll them. Now, the dice generally have different icons. They can be blank, they can have a number of stars on them, they can have potions, or they can have hearts. Now, generally in combat, you want to roll stars. The more stars, the better. You roll stars for your attack value, your opponent rolls stars for his defense value, and if the attacker can exceed the number of stars the defender rolled, then he wins combat. He has to exceed it. Some effects, some cards will give some players automatic stars that they've rolled that they will add to their dice roll total. So if the attacker is successful, the defender takes a wound token. If you are attacking and you are successful and you roll a heart icon, that means you can get rid of one of your wound tokens. If you roll a potion, you can get a potion token. Now, everybody starts with a potion token, but you're going to spend it because that'll give you special abilities, and that's kind of your way of replenishing your potion tokens. Now, the heroes are going around through the dungeon, and they're trying to make it to these spawn points and destroying the spawn points. Spawn points themselves can't defend themselves too easily, so they have to keep, they want to pump out those monsters to effectively defend them. Once a spawn point is destroyed, then the console can bring out a mini-boss. And the mini-boss, they're bad boys. They're mean, they're powerful, they're ugly, and they can do a lot of damage. Finally, after all the spawn points are destroyed, the console can bring out the Forgotten King. He is the big baddie of the game, and he is going to battle these guys and hopefully destroy them before they destroy him. The game ends if all of the heroes are killed, and, there is some leeway here. If the hero is killed, there's a potential to bring it back, but generally, if they're all gone, game over. Conversely, if they succeed in destroying the Forgotten King after they've destroyed all of the spawn points, then the heroes win. Super Dungeon Explorer, Forgotten King. That is just the most bare overview of the rules for Forgotten King. There is a lot more going on in this game. I could spend a lot of time talking to you about the minutiae of the rules. I'm not going to do that. That's just basically how the game is played. Now, Super Dungeon Explorer, of course, was a dungeon crawl game, came out a few years ago, and since then it's come out with, a ton of expansions. Forgotten King, as I understand it, is the first expansion that's also a standalone game that you can just play completely by itself. Now, I have never played Super Dungeon Explorer before, so this is my first introduction into this system, into this world. So let me go ahead and start with some of my criticisms here. First of all, this is a longer game. This is an evening game. And, I say that's a criticism. I don't think this is a game where the length killed it for me by any means, but just know that going into it. This is a longer game, and you're going to invest in it time-wise. I think probably, though, the biggest criticism I have of this game is that it is, as I say, very complex. And when you're stepping into it for the first time, it's a little intimidating. Now, I say very complex, and I guess that's relative. I've played plenty of games that were more complex than this, but there's just a lot of little rules and false starts. And in all the games we played, there was always some little rule that we were forgetting here and there. A few pretty big rules we were forgetting here and there. And so there's just all this kind of minutia, and I guess that word has such a pejorative meaning, but there's just a lot going on here you need to be aware of. And kind of one of the reasons why I found this so problematic is whenever I play a game like this, I like to take the rules PDF and email it to my friends so they can all read it before we come, and that way everybody's kind of got their head where it needs to be to engage with a game like this. And unfortunately, Soda Pop Miniatures does not have the PDF rules online. I couldn't find the rules online anywhere, so it was just me with the paper rules manual. I read through that a couple of times, and I was still missing stuff left and right when we played. We kept having to refer to the manual, and so that was a little tedious and a little tiresome. I really wish this had the rules posted online. Maybe by the time this airs, it will. But that is something I really appreciate from companies when they put the rulebook online for anybody to read. Generally speaking, this is a pretty standard, straightforward dungeon crawl game for the most part. I mean, it's movement, attack stats, defense stats, special abilities, potions, items, all these sorts of things, all these kind of tropes of the genre are represented here in Super Dungeon Explorer Forgotten King. And that's not a bad thing, that's exactly what you would expect, and you get it. There are a lot of really fun and interesting cards that come up. You can actually get pets that follow you. These pets kind of are the heroes. They follow the heroes, and they kind of can run interference for the heroes, and they have their own special abilities, and that's pretty fun, pretty interesting there as well. I got to tell you, all things being considered, though, this game was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it, kind of despite some of the tedium of having to look up rules and what have you. It was just a good, solid dungeon crawl. Not my favorite dungeon crawl I've ever played, but really, really, really very good. I liked a lot about this game. First of all, the some of the flavor text and some of the theme is quite funny. It's very amusing. One of the animals, the colonel, who's a chicken, which is quite funny in and of itself. He's got a little quote. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy. One of my favorite lines from one of my favorite movies, Blazing Saddles. There's a lot of little stuff like that throughout this game that I really appreciated. And generally I'm not a huge fan of kind of comedy and fun stuff like that in games. But I don't know, it worked here. I liked it. I got a kick out of it. I thought it was fun. The combat system I thought was pretty interesting. It really, it's just basic, dice chucking, but it's fun and it's interesting, and you're biting your nails. Are we gonna get enough stars to beat this guy, or is he gonna get enough to beat us? It's fun. It's tense. It works well, and then the things you can do to supplement that also are really quite fun. Some of the big monsters when they come out, they're big, they're bad, and there's a real tension that builds as these monsters are getting stronger, and the heroes are trying to kind of work together as best they can, using items from the backpack, items they find, to enhance their own abilities. And are they going to be up to the challenge? And it's quite fun. But no discussion of Super Dungeon Explorer Forgotten King would be complete without a discussion of one of the game's great strengths, and that is its miniatures. Miniatures are great. They're a lot of fun. They're beautiful, and, let's face it, and I said this before, anytime you get a game that has cool miniatures like this, it's a toy factor. And this game absolutely brings a toy factor. You got to look at a game like this as really a toy box. And they're just fun, they're beautiful. You'd spawn some stuff and people go, "Ooh, that's something coming at us. That's scary." That was a lot of fun too. So, at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this game. Now, let me say this. If you want to buy Super Dungeon Explorer Forgotten King, and I think a lot of you probably will want to, and probably should, you need to know this is an investment. It's an investment not only in money, but it's an investment in time to learn the rules, and in time, and kind of an intellectual investment, because there is so much here, and there's so much going on, and just be aware of that. This game is an investment on a lot of levels, but it's a fun system, it's a good system, and I think the casual gamer who's maybe just looking for something, kind of lighter, and let's play this tonight, maybe not, but the person who's really looking to invest in a system, this is as good as I think just about anyone I've played. Now, the game also does come with an arcade mode, and the arcade mode is essentially just a cooperative version. You take out the console as a person, and the game runs it. There's an AI with cards. Now, I have not played the arcade mode, and I've got to be honest, I haven't had any great desire to. I've heard people say it's not that great, but really fundamentally, I've got cooperative games. I don't really need another one. This is a game I want to play as an all-on-one. I think it's going to work better. Maybe at some point in the future I may try the arcade mode. Maybe I'll revisit it. But for right now, I'm really enjoying the all-on-one game, and I think it's strong. It's very strong. So, with all of that being said, the recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Super Dungeon Explorer Forgotten King is, if you're a casual gamer, try it before you buy it. But if you're looking for a real system to invest in, buy it.
Did you know, there are monsters underneath your bed? And if you don't go to sleep right now, you will wish that you were dead. Come now, children, come and see. Danger comes from everything. Safe is sound something you can be, 'cause we'll all die in World War III. Did you know, did you know, did you know that the deepest in the ocean you can go is approximately 2,500 feet? That's the average in length of a neighborhood street, where you'll slowly be crushed in a watery deep. Before your head explodes. Before your head explodes.
Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I always thought the Forgotten King was Charles X of Sweden. Seriously, who talks about that guy anymore?
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight, but I don't ever...
One.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. 2.
2.
All right.
Look at it smile.
I'm keeping that.
Its eyes. It's zest for life.
3.
That's
No, he defends.
Just bounce off.
Tail.
3 stars. 3 stars. 3-star defense.
I couldn't.
What did you roll? What did you roll? Oh.
There, son.
5.
3. Hit him again.
Hit him again.
Based on.
Yeah, you better use that.
1.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay.
Get under attack.
Attack.
Oh, 6! Woohoo!